Hey everybody, welcome to another Connected Live here on Facebook. So I know I've been doing these a little more regularly, thank goodness. I've been wanting to do it more regularly. It's just finding the time in between clients and all the animals that need attending to. So the reason I'm later today, I think we're around 1 o'clock right now, is because I spent the day at the vet. All three boys needed to go in, so Puppy needed puppy shots. Thor had a little spot on his back, which is something that Dr. McNeil had never seen before. I have never seen it before, but I'm so glad that, trusting that inner knowing kicked in and, Robert spotted it and then said, yeah, and they made room for us, by the way, because I only had 2 appointments and they're slammed all the time over there at the Mustang Animal Health. And because they know I come from an hour away, they made room for Thor. And then Balder needed acupuncture. So that's why I'm late today. But I wanted to talk about why am I on air today? I'm on air because I wanted to talk about the Great Awakening, yes again, in relationship to animal mediumship. So as many who know me, I've been a holistic healer now for over 20 years. COVID has not really put a crimp in my style with work because I've always done distance. And I help both people and animals, and I help at the energetic level with connected energy, which is a form that I developed over my career, and I help on the emotional level and the physical level. And my theory is that you have to address all three in order to get the proper quality of life that you're looking to achieve. And 20 years have gone by, and apparently I'm doing something right. I'm 51 this year, and I don't do any expensive, brouhaha with the face. It's just good health, good food. You focus on the inside, shows on the outside, which I've talked about that before. So animal mediumship, how does that relate to the Great Awakening of what's going on? So how it relates is that the Great Awakening is not only about seeing all the darkness that's around us and how evil presented itself as good, and people that thought good that was evil. And it's about getting clarity. It's about waking up. And part of waking up is what I addressed in my video the other day, or yesterday even, was about really trusting your inner knowing, your inner wisdom. And everything in society teaches you not to do that. And that means you're easily controlled, you're easily lied to, because connected people can't lie. You can't lie to a connected person. I mean, sometimes the pathological liars can get through you because they believe their own lies as truth. So that energetic signature is a little harder to read. But in general, a connected person can't be lied to. You can't be fooled. So a lot of the things that are going on in the world, you see right through it. The other thing is all those other skills that have been invalidated by society, like animal mediumship, animal communication, anything to deal with other species being equally sentient as we are, has been also invalidated. Now think about that. If you're disconnected on every level, including that one, then you doing harm to the environment won't matter to you because you don't see how you're connected to it. So buying products that are animal tested, you don't see how that's a problem because you're not connected to it. You don't see how it's connected to you. You don't see how your karma, your soul, is connected to doing the harm to those animals because you think, well, the company does that, but I don't. I just buy their product. You're buying a product that has an energetic signature of torturing an animal. And you are perpetuating the harm, as well as using something that is just so negative for you because, pain and suffering is horrible. Okay, so animal mediumship, how does that relate to today? For the past couple of weeks, my first German Shepherd, Cutter John, has been coming to me. And he was reminding me about his legs and how, people said he wouldn't survive because he had these really bad hips. They were horrible. Like even as a puppy, they said we would have to put him down. And it got really bad around 9, and we thought we would have to put him down. And we got really lucky, and we met Dr. Gloria Weintraub, who is a magnificent DVM, as well as holistic vet. and she was one of the pioneers. And she did a procedure on Cutter John called gold bead implant surgery, which is a form of acupuncture. And what they do is in a large needle, so yes, the dog is anesthetized. In a large needle, they have these gold beads that they insert into parts of the hip that need support. And somehow, energetically, the gold helps balance, bring down inflammation so that the joint can work better with less pain. I have found this procedure to be so much better than hip replacement. It's not funny. Cutter lived until he was, I think, 12 or 13, and his hips didn't kill him. He got cancer, and he passed away from the cancer. So he had great quality of life still running around up until that time. So Cutter's been coming to me a lot lately, and on the final time that he came to me, and I had this appointment for a while because, it was the puppy shots that needed to get done. And I think it was like a day ago, and I very clearly saw Cutter, and Cutter said, if you want him to last longer, you need to do the surgery that was done for me when you were 13. So Cutter was 10, and I was around 13 or something like that, 14 or 15, something. I was still really young. And that saved his life and gave him great quality of life, and so much less invasive than cutting off the top of the bone or replacing this or that. And it's just, and he's an older dog, so you really don't want to do things like that to older dogs. So it was really interesting. I didn't know if Dr. McNeil did gold bead implant surgery or not. Not many people do. Not many people have that skill level. I think there's probably maybe a handful of vets in the United States that do it. And lo and behold, I end up in the middle of Oklahoma because of Arrow. Balder ends up having such health problems that I need help. Even Dr. Weintraub tried to help Balder, and we've talked about that in the past. And Dr. Weintraub said, no, he's not letting anyone help him. This dog doesn't want help. He thinks he can solve it on his own. Well, when we finally got to Oklahoma, it got so bad he couldn't solve his health problems on his own. And really weird, it was like desperation time. And I was so scared. And how I came upon Dr. McNeil at the Mustang Animal Health Clinic, and my apologies to everybody who's listening to this from Oklahoma, she's not accepting patients. She's completely overwhelmed right now. So unfortunately, she's not somebody I can refer because she just can't take anybody anymore. But how did I know she did that procedure? I didn't. Except when I started to say to Cutter, well, I don't even know if she does this. He goes, oh, well, of course she does. I'm like, okay. So I didn't stress about it. I didn't call the clinic. I didn't say, I didn't worry that I wasn't going to be able to have this done. I just thought, okay, well, if Cutter's told me from the other side that it was going to get done, I said, it's just going to get done. And so as I sit there with her and she's doing acupuncture on him, I said, take a look at that leg again. I think he needs gold bead implant surgery. What do you think? She looked at me and she goes, you know about that? I said, yes. And I didn't tell her the whole story because she had a very busy day and her and I can just chat forever. So I was just trying to keep it short. And I said, yes. And she goes, of course you do. She goes, you have a story with that one, don't you? And I said, yeah, but you don't have time today. And she goes, no, I don't have time. But if he's got enough muscle wasting and you can tell he's being a real trooper, he's not complaining, but he's uncomfortable. And I said, yes. And I said, but he's having a grand time with Thor. And he loves the puppy. He loves Arbo. He's the best nanny dog ever. And I never knew he would be a great nanny dog because two things. He did not like my sister's young puppy. He nearly tried to kill him a couple of years back. And then I just, he knew who it was coming back. So he was like not thrilled about that fact. But when I explained, you're going to get to teach him how to be a dog for the first time, he got really excited about that. So Balder's just been the best nanny dog ever to Arbo. They sleep together. When Arbo has to get out at night, Balder goes out with him. And I'm like, okay, take him out, Balder. And Balder takes him out. And then I'm like, okay, bring him back in. It's too late for you guys to be standing out there. And Balder rounds him up and brings him back in. It's like the puppy is learning how to be such a great dog from Balder. And if I can have a few more years with Baldur with quality of life, and Baldur can run around and do more and not just be teetering on three legs, yeah, I'm going to do it. You know, finances are tough. They're tough for everybody right now. I have no idea. Like, my husband looked at me because he was with me, helping me on the appointment because, you know, 3 dogs, 3 big dogs, an appointment like that, you need help. And he just stared at me like, how are we going to do this? And I'm like, I have no idea. None whatsoever. But you know what? It's Baldur. And if we can increase his quality of life by this procedure, I don't care. We will find a way. We'll just make it work. That's the way it's always been. When Arrow needed something, if William needs something, Thor needs something, we make it work. And so he has his appointment to get his gold bead implant surgery on both hips so that they're balanced on February 23rd. And it's not inexpensive. It's not as expensive as a full hip replacement, and obviously much less invasive. So recovery time is much better. But I have a little bit of time to figure out how to get money together to do this. And I'm going to do it. I have, from today to February 23rd to get about $1,000 together. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's another part of the Great Awakening. You know, the past 10 months, there's always been some kind of friggin' emergency financially, and money goes out here and money goes out there, and not enough is coming in because everybody's scared. And clearly my services are not paid for by health insurance. They kind of should be, but they're not. But my clients are great. I'm still working regularly, but these are some pretty big expenses, extra expenses over the month. So, but no, I'm laughing about it because I just feel confident. I feel hopeful because rather than focus on the worry and, oh my God, another financial thing and making drama about that, I'm like, I have an opportunity to make Baldur's quality of life better. And I have an opportunity to have Baldur around for longer. And you bet your ass I'm going to find a way to do it. I've always tried to be a good example in rescue of someone who doesn't bleed out. You should never... I've seen animal rescuers look like they're they live horribly. They don't take care of themselves. They look older than they are. They're sick. They've got all these issues, and I don't feel that's appropriate. If you're going to do rescue, you rescue appropriately for you, how much you can handle while still taking care of you. Everybody has to be taken care of. You can't take care of anybody else, including animals, unless you know how to take care of yourself properly. So I've always walked the talk in that way as well. And note, here I am kind of walking the talk again. The Great Awakening is about focusing on the positive and focusing on abundance. I know the money will come. I know it will be okay. And we will get Baldur his surgery. And it's not a frivolous surgery. He's a magnificent dog. Like, if you guys have seen pictures of my Baldur, he's done so much. Like Jin, everybody who's met Baldur has been changed by Baldur. We go to the vet's office, and the techs are disappointed if they're too busy to say hello to my dogs, because my boys are so good. And they've got such good souls, and they've got so much heart. They're all love energy. And again, my surroundings are a representative of me walking the talk. People end up working with me with their animals with behavior issues because they're like, how did you get your animals so well behaved? And I said, well, I gave them a great education. Oh, training. Yes, I guess in some ways it is training, but I don't like that word because it means that I'm imposing my will on the dog or the cat or the horse. It has to be a collaboration. It has to be an education. It has to be basically, I think all my animals have a master's degree and a PhD too. Baldur has a PhD. And I think Baldur's a savant. He's brilliant. So note the positive tone. I just find a way. And I listen to all the skills that are available to me to make things better for my family. So another intuitive thing. Robert saw something on Thor that didn't look right. And I've never seen it before. And so when he brought it up, he goes, it looks like where... So Thor has this weird patch of hair. It was like that thick and about that long, but it wasn't growing out. The pus was still coming from the root. And, you know, we got a really horrible case of hot spots a while back, and it was around that area where the hot spots were. And I was like, huh. And then Robert had the idea, and he said, I think that's where the microchip is. I went, oh, shit. I'm like, because, you know, Thor's a little defensive about being looked at. You know, even with me or Robert doing it, he still worries about it. But he's never bitten us or did anything bad. He's just, you can tell if you put him in a bad situation, you put him in a situation to fail very easily with this dog. So I listened to Robert, I listened to my own intuition, and I said, you know what, he needs to go. And so I called them up, and they made room for us. And we scanned, because that was the least offensive way to look at him. And it indeed was where the chip was at. And for somehow he developed 2 different types of infections from the chip that are embedded in there. So we're doing some internal remedies for that. And then we're doing an external technique to draw out, you know, whatever's there that, you know, is not good. But even Doc said, in all my years of being a vet, I've never seen a microchip cause a problem like this. She's like, holy cow, this is a new one on me. But she goes, the longer I practice medicine with animals, the more nothing starts to surprise me anymore. So I'm really glad that we brought that in, because the infection that Thor has is systemic and caused by that thing. So we're going to give him these remedies, and they're all by standard process. They're all holistic. And we're going to, you know, build up his immune system, get rid of all this toxicity that's in him. And then we were worried about, oh my God, he's going to have chronic hot spots, because he started with hot spots over the spring. The hot spots were from that infection. So now we know what we're going for. And, you know, Thor is such a tank. He's a little bit like Balder. He's like, I'm fine. And he's like Tigger the tiger. So, you know, you wouldn't assume anything was wrong with him. But intuition told me to bring him in. Intuition said, no, it's not just a little scab. It's not just a little scab. There's something bigger going on. And Robert was right. And we got him in. And, you know, yeah, it was a really expensive day between the puppy shots, the acupuncture, and Thor. Oh, Lord, have mercy. But it's fine. We'll figure out how to pay for it. It just, you know, their health is as important as our health. And that is part of the Great Awakening. The Great Awakening is waking up to, it's not just a dog, and it's not just a cat or a squirrel or a bird. Everything is connected to us personally. So if you buy animal tested products, you are personally condoning torture. And that reflects on your soul. If you treat your pet and don't give your pet the equality of care that, say, you would give your child or yourself, that reflects on your soul. They deserve, if you take on an animal, I don't care if it's a ferret or a guinea pig or a canary, you take on any animal, it is your responsibility to always do your best. That is also part of the Great Awakening, along with the skill sets of being able to hear them. People who work with me, this is not woo-woo stuff. It's not witchcraft. They're all senses that exist. Society doesn't want you to be connected. Society does not want you to understand any of this, because the powers that be, whether it's government, religion, or whatever, if you're connected, they can no longer lie to you. They can no longer put things by you. They can no longer force you to do things. And you are trusting yourself more than you're trusting them. And that's as it should be, that inner independence that I talked about yesterday. And so when people come to me and they're like, I can hear my cat, or I can hear my bird, or I can hear my dog, just, you know, within 4 or 5 sessions working with you. Yeah, because I didn't hit you with fairy dust and now make you special. Everybody, they are like the 5 senses. It's like touch and smell and sight. The other senses, that animal communication, the telepathy, I can talk to my animals from halfway around the world. I do regularly. I talk to animals in India that are my clients, and I'm bang on. I have a lady who has beautiful horses in India, and I'm one of the first people she calls when there's colic. because I get the horses through the colic. And yes, they do call the vet to be responsible, but when they call the vet and things aren't shaping up the way they want it to, I get a call immediately. Can you do a session now to help with this colic? And I've worked with this person for over 10 years. So she gets the benefit of, she gets to do emergency sessions with me because she's consistent. She's not inconsistent by any means. So if she's got an emergency pretty much, and I've worked with her for 10 years, yeah, I jump, I ask how high, because she's serious about the work and she's really respectful. So I can talk to animals across the planet. I've had people say, I've got some wild animals in one location and they need to get out of there. Can you move them to this location? I've done that. I had a client who was on a whale excursion out in the Pacific and said, we're having terrible weather and there's no whales. And I'm like, okay. And they like talk to them and bring them around the boat. I said, are you kidding me? And he was like, I know you can do it. And he's right. I can do stuff like that. So I said, well, can you tell me your longitude and latitude, please? And tell me what area of the Pacific that you're in. If there's any islands nearby, if you can give me some markers for the animals, especially the whales with their sonar. It's not like, I mean, and they do understand longitude and latitude, by the way. It translates into energy and they know how to zone in on those areas. But I would rather give them like the locations of a couple of islands and what kind of boat. Like I ask, what kind of engines do you got? And what kind of, how big is the boat and what kind of engines? And that might seem really weird that I ask what kind of engines, but I ask because of the kind of noise it'll make. And then when I give them the size of the boat, how big the boat is, like half your size or a quarter of your size, then the whales know what they're looking for. Within 4 hours, a pod of whales came to my client's boat and I got another satellite phone call. Hey, that was awesome. Thanks, babe. I don't often share that one because it seems really off the bat, but I can do stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. I've always had a special relationship with cetaceans, so and fish and everything else. So people have always laughed. They're like, "You're a mermaid. Animals come when you're in the ocean." Yeah, I've been in the water with and swimming, at the beach when I was in the Pacific, and seals would come up to me all the time and have talks with me. And of course, the minute people on the beach started to see seals around me, they would start running down the beach because they wanted to pet a seal. Don't ever pet a seal, folks. It's like petting a wild dog. You're going to get your hand bit. Not because seals are mean, but because they're wild. They don't want to be petted. That is a privilege with wild animals. I don't even pet them when they come up to me. I have birds come up to me. I have wild deer come up to me. I don't ask to pet them because it's just not, it's not polite, to be quite frank. All right. So that is my message for today. Thank you guys for listening in. Thank you everybody who listened in. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. This is going to go on my YouTube channel. I would love to have more subscribers there. I've stayed on the down low for a long time, and I'm being more vocal now because it is the Great Awakening and I'm needed more than I've ever been needed. So I'm trying to be more out there so that more people find me. So all of my followers and people who believe in my work, please direct people also to my YouTube channel. That's how you'll be able to share this video. This video won't be shareable off my page, but you'll be able to direct people to the YouTube channel, and I'll put the link for it there. All right, thanks again, everybody, and I'll give you guys updates on Baldur's gold bead implant surgery. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.